What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. Today is going to be short and sweet. We're going to do 3 simple mix down tips to make your mix sound better in EDM and dubstep specifically, but this applies to honestly any EDM genre. So let's get into it.
Come on, let's get down.
Sorry, I look like a absolute gym bro right now. I just finished at the gym and I wanted to record this while I still had the thought in mind. The biggest mistake I find here is either someone has a kick too loud or a snare too loud and they're not the same level. So I want to show you a very easy way to balance it and a very easy way to mix them in. So yes, let's just choose a random kick here. We have our kick. Let's get a snare here. Sure. All right. So I have a kick on 1 and snare on 3. So with kick, what I like to generally do is have my kicks a little bit shorter. Your kick is supposed to be a transient more than a body, at least in like your drop, right? So you can shorten up your kick and even it off a little bit. Something I like to do. That way you're just getting most of the transient and then just a little bit of the tail. We don't need it to act as a sub because we have our own sub in the mix, right? It's going to have a lot more power. We just want to make room for that punchiness and a little bit of the body that it has. Now, about your kick, you're going to need pretty much everything in the EQ. There's nothing really sweep off. But what you can do is to help your mix, you can really take out probably like 30 and below, and it'll be just fine. Another thing you can do is if you feel your kick is not thuddy enough. Is that a word, thuddy? I don't even know. Not thuddy or punching as much as you want. A lot of people, what they do is boost this area, the knock area, right? 150, 300. But what you can do is honestly do subtractive EQ. So say it's too thuddy. You can literally just like scope around and see if it sounds better. So that verse, it's a little bit different, but I think it sounds good. And you're also, with doing this, it doesn't work for all kicks, and all kicks don't need it. But for the ones that do, if you feel, always try subtractive first. If that doesn't work, go ahead and add to it. And you taking out this low end right here with an EQ is going to help be able to increase your master later on because you're not having any low end rumble that's inaudible. Yeah, inaudible. That's the word I'm looking for. Inaudible, but you can still, it would still be pushing your master originally. So for your kick, for your snare, you don't need any low end. Snares usually sit naturally a little higher, so we can check here. Fundamentals right there, so we can cut pretty much right under the fundamental. Next, what you could do, you got to make sure they're at the right level. So for me, what I like to do is make sure I turn off my I have a soft clipper on my drums. You don't need that, you can. But what I really like to do is parallel compress everything, which if you're an Ableton user, this is the preset. I literally have one on my specific drop kick and snare, and I have another one for my drum group in general. Parallel compression never really hurts. It's very nice. But you want to make sure they're at the right levels. So what I like to do is check over here and just see where they're sitting. Okay, so my kick's at 2, my snare's at 5. My snare is going to be louder, right? So what we can do if we want to be at 2, we can turn down another dB. Let's go 3.2. Okay, so those are pretty much together now. Now you don't have to worry about if one's hitting harder than the next. And you'd be like, oh, but you're soft clipping it anyways, so it doesn't matter. They're both going to be at 0 this way. Right? They're still hitting there. But it kind of does. It's the dynamics and how punchy they are. If you're slamming something into a soft clipper, you're actually going to lose it more because it just cuts off. So you do want them balanced before you go into a soft clipper, in my opinion. So that's tip number 1 is making sure your drums are level. For me, people make sound different. I like to start at 0, and everything else is going to be below that. My kick and snare are always going to be hitting 0 going into my master. Okay, the next thing I want to show you guys is layering basses. So I just chose literally a couple random samples and this sub right here. So we have sample 1, a nice sustain, and then we have just a rhythmic. Then you just have a sub, normal sub, right? So all of them together, no drums or anything, just basses. What we need to do here is make sure everything has its place in the mix, and I want to show you that. For sustains, usually it's going to go up to a point of a root note or something that's going to peak. There's our root note all the way up here. We could go take out anything below 600. We don't need that. So without it, nice. It sounds good. Sounds good. We didn't lose any of the fundamental, so it still sounds the same. Now we can also keep note of where that is hitting, which is right around like 800. What we can do, and we can take out a little bit here to allow that fundamental to come through with these layers. Now you can hear both very clearly, and I really didn't have to do much for that. Now obviously you could do other things, like you could roll off the high end a little bit to let it breathe, or you could just volume automate things, but EQing out the fundamental of your sustain, or EQing out of the other bass where your sustain is laying, is going to help a lot. Same with your sub. Your subs, nothing else should be in here in a drop. It should just be your sub and mono. If you're an Ableton user and you don't know how to do that, you can literally just slap a utility on your channel and just hit mono, and now everything's in mono. But yeah, so then you can layer that, and now you have, and it sounds good. You don't have any bleed on the lower end from sustain, so nothing's gonna build up in that muddiness. And even if you added more layers, right, you're allowed to fill this out and cut EQ out. You can compress stuff a little more that you want to be as like a supporting layer, and just tuck it in with an EQ and allow this to breathe. I do this every single project, especially when I'm layering like 6-7 sounds together. You can't just let them just with a high pass of 100. You have to like scope and cut out, so that way everything's kind of audible in its own way. And tip number 3, I'm going to show you via this track. This has no meaning. I just want to show off the plugin, which is going to be Span. If you don't know what Span is, it's literally just an analyzer that is free through Voxengo. I'll link it in the description below. Grab it. Everyone uses it in the industry, I promise you. Now, the cool thing about this at first glance, and I'm going to turn this down a little bit, you get awesome. You can see your spectrum like an EQ, right? But the cool thing about this is you can go here into presets, mid-side stereo, and activate this. Now the light green is going to be the stereo, and the dark green is going to be mono. If you're colorblind or anything, which I don't know if green is a colorblind, but you can always change the colors here to suit what you like. Personally, I like blue. I just think it looks cool. Okay, so the light blue is going to be stereo. So we can look at our mixes this way, and even better, if you want to look at something in real time, you can go to your cogwheel right here and turn the average time down to as low as possible. Make sure if you're in the mid side that I showed, you click up here on mid and go to side and do the same thing. So they're both splitting the channels to mid side. Back to mid. Now you have a real time analyzer. It's going to jump very quick. Watch. This is a great way to see if something is clashing in your mix. If you feel that something's in your sub region that shouldn't be there, you can watch in real time and be like, oh, right during this swoop something. And you can just have this on your master at all times. So let's use this as an example. Say I want to go to the drop and I want to see his sub, how it's hitting, right? So let's find the drop somewhere in here. Okay, so I can see right here is about where the sub is sitting, and then I can go A/B my mix and be like, all right, through my mastering and my final process, is my sub here? Is it lower? How am I comparing to, say, my reference track? Let's say this was my reference track. And you can really just scope out and go by section. You know, if you wanted to pull that down, you can EQ certain things out, obviously, and be like, all right, how are his low mids sounding and where are they sitting? So let's do like 120 to go to like 1,000, somewhere in here, right? Like that, and now we can check during the drop. I can see it's sitting around there, wise, and I can compare mine. I'll be like, all right, is mine more compressed than his? Is it quieter? And overall, how is my mix? So it's a great way to reference your mix. It's a free tool. It's amazing. I would definitely use it. I use it in all my production. I actually have this version of Span on my master at all time, and I have dual monitors. So while I'm sound design, mixing, or anything, I will literally just throw this on the screen, and I can only just A/B it, or not A/B. I can only just look over and be like, all right, I have no low end bleeding here. If I cut it, or even in my group, I'll check real quick. All right, bet we're looking good, or oh, we have an issue, so I can go find it. And this just keeps me up to date on everything in real time. That's gonna be the video for today. I hope you guys learned something, as always. And if you did, hit that like button. Feel free to subscribe. I am pumping out a lot more YouTube content now for you guys because I neglected it the last month. So have a great day or night wherever you are and listen to this, and take care.
Come on, let's get down.